Hello and welcome to Laserfiche Windows Client Training by Cities Digital. This video will introduce the basic concepts and features of the Laserfiche Windows Client software. Laserfiche provides a secure repository where users can store and find important business documents. End users will interact with the system through the Laserfiche client, which is a locally installed product on the end user's computer and will allow them to use Laserfiche like a digital filing cabinet. They'll be able to browse the contents of the repository via a folder structure. They'll be able to utilize advanced search capabilities and easily and efficiently retrieve information. Users can create new documents in the system by scanning paper-based documents or importing electronic files. They can print, email, and export out of the system in a secured manner. They can participate in business processes via workflow automation. They can also utilize a variety of annotation features on documents and much, much more. So our agenda today is just to look at the main interface that end users will see when using Laserfiche. We'll look at logging in, how to find files, work with files, how to get files in, and get files out of Laserfiche. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. Having logged on to our workstation, we would now find the Laserfiche launch icon, usually on your desktop or in your program menu. Go ahead and double-click on that icon and let Laserfiche launch. It will take you to a login screen. You'll see your available repositories listed. If you're on a Windows network and your account has been connected to your Windows network account, you can use Windows authentication, or if not, you can use the traditional Laserfiche username and password combination. The login screen is available here now, and we'll log in. And we'll wait for our system to log us into the repository. As we can see, we've now logged into the repository. We have a number of folders in the folder pane, but before we get there, up at the top, we see in the Laserfiche client that we have a file menu with various options. One of the actual options is Tools Options, where you can set various custom configuration settings for your Laserfiche Windows client. In the file menu, you also have file import or file download capability. You can also sign out of Laserfiche or exit out of the application altogether. Below that is the toolbar. There's a number of icons on here: folder pane icon, advanced search, preview if you prefer, print, scan, photo docs, download. Some icons are not enabled depending on what you're highlighting, but roll your cursor over any one of them and it'll tell you what it does. You can customize this toolbar. The toolbar can be customized by adding or removing buttons that are already currently set. If you want to remove some of those buttons, just uncheck the box. You can click the Customize option to add additional commands to your toolbar. Go ahead and click on the Commands tab, search through the list of available commands, which there are many, and then click and drag any one of them up to your toolbar and then release. If you want to remove a toolbar icon, just click and drag down while you have it in Customize mode, and it will be removed. You can also rearrange the order of these icons by clicking and dragging on the toolbar to rearrange where they occur on the toolbar. Once you like what you see, just click Close, and you're all done. Go ahead and put this back. Close, and now you're all set. Below the toolbar icon is the location bar. This tells you what current folder you are currently viewing. It also displays both in the folder pane and the contents pane here on the right side. In the contents pane, we can see all the documents and or folders within that folder that we just highlighted from the folder pane. We can see here we have quite a few documents already in here. And if we wanted to toggle and view a previously visited folder, you can hit the drop down and switch to the last visited folder. Switches you automatically to that folder, and then you are then taken to wherever you had chosen, or you can toggle back to your previous folder. On the same line as the contents or location bar is the quick search. On the far right side, we have the quick search. Type in a word or phrase. Choose your search criteria. You can limit your search to within a current folder. You can use text, entry name, field, and annotation searches. And if you so desire, you can customize your quick search to be a bit more advanced using the criteria you've typed in here to conduct your search. although this is not to be confused with the advanced search, which is over here on the left side on your toolbar, which includes many different advanced search criteria. That's the quick search box over in the top right corner. Our folder pane again here on the left-hand side is only going to display folders or subfolders. The contents pane on the right side will show you both folders and documents or shortcuts, any kind of entry in Laserfiche, and it has a number of columns. These columns can be adjusted to size as far as width goes. You can rearrange the order of these columns. You can right-click anywhere on the column header and add additional columns, both Laserfiche columns and columns related to fields that you might have in the system. For example, maybe a client name or an employee name or ID from a template. That information that we see here, the creation date, modified date, template name, that's all coming from Laserfiche, but the other information may be coming from data entered on documents when you import them, and we'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Down in the bottom left corner, it will tell us how many entries are in the current folder. In this case, there are 12, one folder, and 11 documents. Down in the bottom right corner, we can see that we're logged into the repository with an admin account and that the numlock key is on. If you turn it off, it's off. Turn it back on, the numlock key displays down there, just in case you wanted to know what was going on with your keys. Once you've logged in and you're in a particular folder, you can add new folders. You can right-click in the white space to choose to create a new folder, give it a name just like anything else, just like you're used to doing in Windows, and that folder has now been created once you click and give it a name. You can delete documents and or folders out of the repository as well. And if the document is not in the place that you wanted it to be, you can move one or more of those documents into another folder, just like in Windows. Laserfiche will confirm by default. You can uncheck the box that asks not to remind you again. Go ahead and move those, and Laserfiche will move those documents for you. Across the top, there's a couple icons we might use while we're in a folder. We might want to scan documents into the folder, and that will launch Laserfiche scanning. We'll come to that in a moment. You can also mark folders or documents with a star. That's new in version 10.3, and that allows us to mark some documents with a star. We'll go ahead and star a couple entries here. And notice in the folder browser side of things, on the folder pane, we now have some starred entries. This is like a bookmark or a quick access type capability, and you can, if you want to, remove the stars from those items. They're no longer then available. And that's just for you. So these customizations that we might have done for the toolbar, the columns in our content pane, any starred entries, those are all saved per user. So the nice thing is you can make these customizations within the setup, and this affects you but nobody else. Aside from that, you can highlight a document, print it out by choosing to print the item. You can also run the OCR engine, the optical character recognition engine, to generate searchable text from any documents that may not already have text on them. That will help them be searched for later on by the text. Let's say we do want to get a document into Laserfiche. We can do many different methods of import. There are at least 3. We can do a drag and drop, we can do a file import, and we can even do a scan. If we have a document that we wanted to bring into the system, we can bring in PDFs or TIFF images or any other document format that you prefer. As you can see here, we have Excel files, Word documents, PDFs. You can even store audio files, video files, whatever that format is that you want to maintain in Laserfiche, it will handle that. You can name them whatever you want. You can choose to retain the extension name of the file if it's an electronic file, or you can choose to drop the extension on the file as well. File import is the same as drag and drop. Just click on File, click Import, and then browse for the contents that you desire. I'll go ahead and bring in a sample document, click Import. The file import or the drag and drop import will launch an import dialog box. This allows us to rename the document, possibly even change the folder path in case that was the incorrect folder path that you had selected and you realized, well, I don't want to put it in this folder, let's put it into a different folder, just hit the Browse button, and that allows you to change the folder path. You can also mark the document being imported to be full text searchable once it's imported, and that is what that checkbox does there. Also in version 10, version 10.3, is import profiles. Each user can create their own import profile, which allows a user to select a particular preset folder path and template. A template, by the way, for those who have never seen it, is really a preset selection of fields that can be filled in. This field information will help users find the documents later on, and it may also assist in automated workflows that might be renaming and or auto-filing documents for us. We do need to fill in the field values. The template and the import profile has no way of actually setting values unless they are set as default in the system itself. But it does set the folder path and a default template. The rest of the information needs to be filled out by the employee filling out the information and importing the document. Renaming is allowed as well, unless it is going to be automatically renamed. Go ahead and click OK, and that document now has been brought into that particular folder with that information. The full text engine will run on that workstation as we are seeing here. And that document went into a particular folder, which was already set, probably under our Human Resources folder, and a different folder. And that was expected because that's what our import profile was set for. There are a couple other ways to import documents into Laserfiche. There is the Laserfiche Snapshot printer driver, and also the Microsoft add-in, which allows us to import documents that are being edited in an Excel, Word, PowerPoint, or Outlook format. Quick review of that is going to be here in just a moment, but we do want to take a look at scanning as well. We can import in a very quick way. We can scan paper documents using the scanning option. The other methods really are a way to import documents that are electronic, or we might be printing from a report and we want to convert that into a TIFF image and avoid the step of having to print out and scan that document. So that was Snapshot, Office add-in, drag and drop, as well as scanning. If we wanted to scan a document, we could click the Scan button up at the top on the toolbar, highlighting the folder in which we want the document to end up in. Go ahead and click on the Scan button, and that will then allow us to choose our scan mode. There are two scan modes here, Basic Mode and Standard Mode. Basic Mode is a very simple one document only type scan mode, whereas Standard Mode assumes you want to scan multiple documents and for a longer period of time. We'll take a look at Basic Mode here. When you click OK, Laserfiche scanning will launch. Laserfiche scanning in Basic Mode looks like we see here. Little screen at the very top, we want to be cognizant of and aware that we have a couple settings that we can customize, and this would normally be connected to a desktop scanner. In my case, I don't have a scanner. I do have a set of files on my desktop that I can use to pretend to scan with, and it does import from a directory. This is called Universal Capture. So scanning actually has two methods. You can capture image files from a folder or file system that's local to your machine, or you can actually scan from a real desktop scanner. In either case, you might want to set OCR settings and image enhancements for those images. OCR settings allow us to set decolumnize options. If you're scanning, for example, an article in a paper that has columns, it will organize them properly. And normal scans, we probably would not decolumnize. You can choose your language, your engine, and your OCR engine optimization. Speed will be rather quick, but not quite as accurate as standard. Standard is a good mix between speed and accuracy. Accuracy being slower and much more accurate, depending on the contents. Go ahead and allow that. Also, your enhancement settings, this allows you to clean up the image a little bit. If an image was scanned slightly off-center, not quite vertically aligned, deskew could be selected, despeckle to change noise levels to clean up the image, rotating automatically in case you have a scan that is possibly upside down that needs to be corrected, and you can do blank page removal and other advanced processes. These are all done automatically and in the correct order. No need to worry about what order to select them. It does the page removal before it does deskew and despeckle. With that said, you can go ahead and hit the Start Scanning button. Start Scanning button will begin the import or scan process, and the pages will be brought in. As we can see, we have a document that had 3 pages, and we can look at those 3 pages. They look very nice, and you can hit the Done button to store that document. But before you do that, review the document on the right-hand side. Make sure that you've named and titled it appropriately. Maybe you want to apply some information in the fields on the template. Choose a document type. Make sure the information that might have been defaulted is correct. And at this point, you can hit the Store button, which will store the document and close the app all in one, or you can hit the New Document button to scan another document from here. The Rescan button allows you to select a particular page out of these pages and scan a new page in case the one that you had scanned needs additional or needs to be rescanned to fix whatever was a problem initially. Once you've done that, you can hit Done, and the app will close after sending the document. It is running the OCR process, and there's our new document. Another method to scan is the standard scanning. If we launch our standard mode scanning, we'll take a look at Laserfiche scanning in standard mode. Standard mode scanning looks like we see here, a little bit different, and exposes some more customization than was available in the basic mode. We can see we have some default properties. On the left-hand side, we select default properties, and we see that we can also name the document that we scan. Any document we scan will be titled as we have named it here, unless we change it once it's been scanned, and we can change those documents in the revision pane on the far left bottom. Give it a name as your default name if you want. Assign a template, maybe not all the same information. Select any tags that you might desire. Make sure that your folder path in which your documents will be stored is set. That can be defined alternatively in the revision pane. Go ahead and then also select your image processing options on the far left and add what you want from the selected items on the right-hand side. You have image processing enhancements that can despeckle and deskew the document, do cropping, rotate and resize, and also a couple of interesting processes in which we can add page removal and OCR that will generate text from the document. If you notice on the far left side here under image processing, these items take place in order. So we see that page removal begins, despeckle and deskew occur, and then at the last step is OmniPage OCR. That means that we are going to remove pages, then despeckle the remaining pages, deskew the remaining pages, and run OCR on those pages before it is sent into the Laserfiche repository. Because anytime you are scanning, one should remember that Laserfiche documents that are scanned are not in the Laserfiche repository until you have stored those documents. We'll go ahead and scan a new set of pages here. The Stop Scanning button is available while pages are being pulled through, so you do have an opportunity to stop the scanning before it scans too many pages if you need to. When it is done scanning those pages, it will revert back to an available Start Scanning button. The pages have all been pulled in, as you can see down in the bottom, we do have a thumbnails view that's different than we saw previously. In standard mode, we can do edits on our documents. We can take a look at the pages by navigating through them. However, we can also use the thumbnails to select one or more pages. If we like what we see, we can do things like store the document, or if we want to, we could even right-click and choose to create a new document. It's also available here in the menu bar for the images. We can create a new document with the selected pages, or just select one page and split at that page. When we do, we get a second document over here on the left-hand side in the revision pane, although it does duplicate the name and the metadata and field information that was on the previous document. So you'll probably want to make sure that you rename your documents appropriately. Make sure that your metadata is assigned, and that way you will have no repeated or document name conflicts when you store them in that folder path. If you want to store a document into a different folder, right-click on that one document, choose Move to New Folder, and browse to the folder that you desire. If you leave it blank at New Folder, Laserfiche will create a folder called New Folder at the root of the repository, which is probably not something you want. So go ahead and choose to store in a different folder if you need. Click OK, and then you'll notice that the revision pane shows us for those two documents, they're each individual folder paths. If you're satisfied with what you see there, go ahead and hit the Store button. If you're highlighting a document and you realize, you know what, for page 1, I don't like what I see and I want to rescan it, hit the Rescan button. That will scan the page. If you put a page in the scanner, put that through the scanner and add that page back in and redo it. If you have a scanner that does not hold enough of your entire document, for example, it only has an auto feeder that holds 20 pages and your document is 40, you can actually scan the additional pages into the or at the end of the original scan by hitting the button up at the top that says Continue Scanning from Last Page. If you like, you can then store that individual document by right-clicking down in the revision pane and choosing Store, or press the Store button at the very top, and that will store all the documents into the folders. Once the documents are stored, close your app, and you'll find that you'll have the documents in the different folders in which you targeted. There's our Untitled 6 and our other one, Untitled 3.4. Laserfiche scanning is very simple and easy to use as long as you have a scanner connected to your computer. If you have a photocopier scanner that you're using and they send you an email or a document gets dropped into a network folder, you can drag and drop those documents and simply drop them into your repository from wherever you find them. You can even drag and drop them from your Outlook email. It also brings up the same dialog for import. You can rename the document. You can choose an import profile if you want. You can set your template, set your general settings, make sure you're importing to the folder that you want. If you want to generate searchable text, you can do that as well. Go ahead and click OK, and that document will be brought into the folder like we saw before. Another method to bring documents into Laserfiche is Laserfiche Snapshot. I mentioned this earlier. It's a tool that allows you to basically print a document as a TIFF image into Laserfiche. If you're viewing a web page or a report or a document that needs to be put into Laserfiche in a archival format, like a TIFF image, as if it were scanned, you can use Laserfiche Snapshot. The tool is available very easily and is installed with the Windows client. Go ahead and launch your web page. Go ahead and do your print option. Choose your Laserfiche Snapshot printer from your list of printer options. Wait for the dialog box to launch. The screen will then present you with the document name coming from the website. You can rename the document name. Make sure that you're scanning to the folder that you prefer. This is a default setting, and you can browse and choose the folder that you would like this document to be stored in. You can also change the template, assign a template, and any information you desire. You can preview the image. We're currently set with our advanced settings to scan in black and white, but you can change the import and choose to scan in color. Your choice. You can tell it how to handle document naming conflicts. And if you want to generate searchable text from the images as well. Go ahead and click OK, and that document will be imported into the repository. As we can see, that document ended up in the repository with that same name that came from the, in this case, the web page. Double-clicking on the document will launch it and allow us to preview the page that we got. As you can see, lots of pages generated from that one web page. But if it's a report, like an accounting report or something, it will be then stored in your system as a TIFF image. Speaking of the document image viewer, the documents that are in Laserfiche, if you double-click and open a Excel or Word document, that will open up in the native application, whatever that may be. For scanned documents or PDFs, typically those documents will open up in Laserfiche's document viewer. And if we open up any of our particular documents, the document viewer allows us to make annotations on these documents. I mentioned that before. And annotations are available from the toolbar in the document viewer above. We can add sticky notes, stamps, highlights, redactions, and other annotations like geometric shapes, call-out text, text box, strike-throughs, and other items. Really pretty handy. We also can scan into the existing document. If you want to scan more pages into an existing document, just open it up and hit the scan button available in the toolbar. This will launch Laserfiche scanning, which you already know about, and that will then allow us to scan more pages into this document directly. You have some icons to show and hide some of the panes that are visible here. If we want to hide the text pane, we can go to the top and unselect the text pane view. We can turn the image pane on or off. Usually the image pane is on. The metadata pane could be off or on. We can rotate the images clockwise 90 degrees each click. We can regenerate searchable text if it's not available on the document. We can go to the next page with our next page icon. We can zoom in or out. We can even click and drag to zoom in to our pictures or our text on the document. Double-click to zoom back out. Zooming in with the plus and minus buttons aren't exactly where we want to go sometimes, so I find that click and drag is very easy and handy. Adding annotations is very easy. Click on the highlight button. If you want to highlight, click and drag from top left to bottom right to create that highlight. Right-click on the properties and choose the highlights properties. You can change the color, and you can even assign metadata or comments on this annotation. If you want to add a redaction, you can go ahead and do that. Click and drag, add the redaction there. Well, you may or may not be asked for a redaction reason. This can be set up in the system or not at all. Go ahead and change your properties on the redaction. You can change it from black to white so that when you print it out, you're not blowing a lot of toner onto the page. Go ahead and save your changes here. These annotations, by the way, are overlays on the original image. The original scanned image will not be modified. These are just overlays so that you can print this original out without the annotations, or you can print with the annotations. Your choice when you print out the document. Go ahead and close that. Laserfiche will ask you if you want to save those changes, and yes, you do. Anytime you make a change to the annotations, or maybe you've changed the metadata on a document, that is a change to the document, and you will want to say yes. Another method for bringing documents into Laserfiche is the Microsoft Office plugin. For example, if you have an Office document open and you want to save it from Excel, for example, into Laserfiche directly, the Office integration is installed with the Windows client, and it adds a Laserfiche tab to your Office applications. As we see here, we have a Excel file with some cells filled in. At this point, we have under the Laserfiche tab on your ribbon bar, the ability to save this as a new document into the Laserfiche repository. Just click Laserfiche, click on the repository name, give it a moment to log into the repository. Select the folder path that is appropriate. It will use the last folder path that you used. Go ahead and rename your document. Choose your Save As type, your volume if necessary, and click Save. At that point, the document will start to be saved, but you do need to assign metadata if need be. Go ahead and choose your template, assign that information. Not required, click OK, and this document now will be saved in the repository. If we go back and look at it, now we have our Excel doc number 1 here that we just saved. While it's open, we can still edit it further. And because it's now in the repository, we can save it as a new version or even overwrite the existing version. We can even assign metadata while we're in the document, just clicking on the metadata. We didn't assign anything to the metadata previously, but if we decide we want to, we can go ahead and do that. Choose your template, set your document type and any other values. Maybe we need to correct the phone number. Go ahead and do that. That will now assign that information to the document in Laserfiche. We can now see if we right-click and choose to look at the metadata, that the document type was set, and the template. We can also use information that's coming from Laserfiche to be put into the document itself. Let's say I want to put in some information into a cell. We can put in the repository path that comes from Laserfiche as to where this document lives. We can put in tokens from the last modified, time, probably need to change that up. Add tokens that come from the metadata as well. You might have some field information, for example, the document type. We can put that value in there as well. And that all comes from the Laserfiche system while we're still in the Office document. And this works for Word as well. It'll look very similar. For Office documents, you can check them out. This actually will download a copy of this document to your local machine. Go ahead and check it out. It will put it into your Documents folder and then My Laserfiche Documents by default. But what that does is it allows you to edit that document for longer than just a few minutes. That's a good idea because in case of a network outage, you will still have the document local and it can be checked back in once you're done editing. If you hadn't checked it out and you had a network outage, you'd have to save the file as a different file name locally, then copy it up to Laserfiche, and then replace it on top of replace the old document. So checkout is a very good option, and then check it back in. And that's available for all Office documents. Go ahead and do that, and you're good to go. Check it back in if you are done editing. Really great tool. So that's Office, and that works with Outlook files as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. In Outlook, if you have emails that have an attachment, or even emails without an attachment, go ahead and click on the Laserfiche tab in your Outlook bar, and you'll see that you can actually save attachments only, or you can save the email directly to the repository, including the attachment. In fact, if you do hit the Save To, it will ask you a couple questions about those documents and the attachments. All right, as you can see, the document file name, the email, has the subject is the document name. You can assign fields, you can tell it what folder to go into, and you can tell it how to deal with attachments by clicking on the Attachments tab. This is fantastic. Go ahead and tell it to leave it in the message and or create a separate document. Sometimes you might want to have the message and the document separated out, and if that's the case, you might even want to create a link or relationship, or in other words, a cross-reference between the file and the attachment. That way you can look them up later on and find that here's the email related to this document or the document related to the email. Allow it to import distribution lists like your BCC list. Go ahead and click OK, and that document or email will be brought in to the Laserfiche repository. Go ahead and click OK, and it will bring the document in. Once it's brought the document into Laserfiche, it should show up and refresh automatically in that screen. There we go. And we can see that we have the email and the fact sheet attachment. Once we have documents in Laserfiche, we're going to find that we're going to want to search for them. I did show you that there is a quick search box in the top right corner. We also have the advanced search available as well. The quick search is going to search for text or documents within the highlighted folder. Or if you don't check the highlighted folder, it will search within the entire area or the entire repository. But you can constrain a quick search to look within the current folder. If we type in a term, for example, the word Laserfiche, and we tell it to search within the current folder, and we search by text or fields, that will find all documents that have the word Laserfiche in that document. Go ahead and hit search. We can see that it runs its search and will give us a search results screen in just a second. And as we can see, we have quite a few documents at the top that contain the word Laserfiche, and down on the bottom half of this split screen, we can see the context. In other words, where does that word occur in the pages? So not only is Laserfiche's text search capable of figuring out that the document has that word in it, it even knows where on the page and which pages they occur. And that being said, if you highlight any particular document, selecting them, you can see that they occur in different pages in different documents, which would make sense. And if you like what you see, go ahead and double-click on one of those context hits, and it will actually open up the document and take you to that page and highlight the context that you had selected. As we can see here, everything else normally is selected as yellow, but the highlighted item is in blue, which we see right here. We've selected the second Laserfiche, or third, I believe, from page 1. So a quick way to search. And while you're in the document, if there is searchable text, you can hit Control F on your keyboard and search for words in the document itself. Maybe we want to look for the word content. And as you can see, it highlights that right there beneath us. It didn't jump out at us, but as you can see, the blue did appear there. A very quick way to search for documents or text within a document. I'll go ahead and close that open document. So that was the quick search. You can use words or phrases, but if you are looking for more information, you can use the advanced search. I'm going to go ahead and close the search results here. And in this folder, maybe we want to search for documents, or maybe you want to search the entire repository, but make a very focused search. That's available using the advanced search. And as we can see here, I'm going to hit the reset button. This will set up what you would normally see as your very first search. The search criteria is listed here in blue sections. The common section and within folder are our defaults. Common search is, in fact, probably looks very familiar. The document text, names, fields, and text and annotation text. That is, in fact, just the same as the quick search. In fact, this is a quick search, and if you don't want to use that, you can close it or minimize it. That will not be used during the search when you hit the search button. We can remove the common search by Xing it out. You can get it back by clicking on this Customize Search and reselecting it, or selecting it there. We can add any other search criteria we want. Document date created or modified. We can search by template name or field values. We can search by the document name. We can search if the document has a certain text. We can search within folder. And if we do select by text, we'll go ahead and minimize common here. Notice we can add a search term in, but we can also search a bit more sophisticated in the text search. Search by terms. We could search by and, so it would be Laserfiche and another word. You can use or to separate that out. You can use not, and you can use a within, so that you can search within for sentences of each other. This is a proximity search. Doesn't mean within the document, but it means within words of each other. And this is a different way of searching, but a really powerful way. There's also the fuzzy search. This allows us to use misspellings to our advantage. Sometimes you might find that words are not quite spelled correctly, or they're misspelled altogether. And if you are not finding them based on your search terms, you can turn on fuzzy search, and it will try and find documents that sound the same or are spelled closely but slightly differently to each other. Maybe the word bean, as in B-E-N, as I've been there, or bean like the bean that you eat, B-E-A-N, it should find either one. So text searching has much more power than within the basic search. Within folder is also very much more powerful. You can add multiple folders. You can search within one folder, but then if you want to search all subfolders, which you've selected here with the checkbox, you can actually also exclude folders. Go ahead and choose another folder. And we're going to search from the very top, but we'll add this folder, and I want to say do not include that folder. And you can add as many within and not ins as you want in your folder search if you're using the subfolder search. If you like how your search is configured and you want to use it over and over again, Laserfiche does provide the Save Search capability. There's a Save button at the very top of your search window. Go ahead and give it a new name, click OK, and add it to your list of existing searches. If you want to use an existing search, go ahead and click the Load button. That will allow you to change the search criteria. It will then change it up on the search screen and allow you to enter the information that you desire. And in this case, we're back to a document and folder search within a particular set of folders. Notice it changed the folder types. It's not what we had previously set. That folder, we can adjust that, and then once you have configured your search, you can then hit the search button, which will then run the search. Once you've found your documents or you have navigated to the documents, there are several options on printing, exporting, and emailing. These documents can be exported. You can click and drag to export the document to your desktop, for example, and that would be set to export in the format that you would set your client. You can customize what format an export will end up being. For Word documents and Excel documents, they will stay as Word and Excel documents respectively. However, if you have a scanned image, you can set the system to export as a PDF. This includes drag and drop export like I just did, or if you wanted to email that document, it will also convert this TIFF image to a PDF. The great thing about exporting an image file format to PDF is it allows us to add a password. If we set our default to PDF, we can even put a password on the PDF as it's being sent in the email, and then it will be added to our email, and then we can address it as we see fit. In this one, we can even choose, if it's a multi-page document, we can choose to print or email just a few pages or just one page. I'll choose page 2, and I'll go ahead and create that email. As we can see, the email has been created, the attachment added, and now you can address the email and type in the body of your text as normal, and then send it as you normally would. I won't keep those changes, but very easy to do. You can click on the toolbar on any document, choose the metadata pane to view any of the information as far as template and field values go. You can add tags by clicking on the tag box. You can add your relationship links for electronic documents like Word and Excel. If you are saving them with version control on that document, you can save each version that you edit in those documents. There is a Signatures tab, and this has to do with Laserfiche's Digital Signatures add-on module, which is not a basic component, but is an add-on. It allows you to mark a document as having been imported at a certain time and date by a certain individual, and that it marks it as secure, and if it's been edited, it will tell you. Finally, the system itself allows us to generate some reports. Under Tasks, we can go to the very bottom and generate a report. This is new in 10.3, or actually the version 10.2, and allows us to generate quite a few different reports, metadata reports, effective entry access rights report, users effective access rights report, and a user security properties report. Go ahead and select the type of report you want, click OK, select the fields that you want to report on, select your report type. You can view it as a table, list, Excel, or a CSV file. If you do export it as an Excel file, that will be generated in the file name that you want, and it'll ask you where to put it. In this case, I actually already have one up here on my desktop. Go ahead and save it as your report name wherever you want. I'll go ahead and cancel that. And if you open up the Excel file report, here we go. We have all the names of the entries that were in that folder, along with the columns that were in the client. So if we added additional columns, we would see that we would have all that information plus whatever columns were in here. It's basically, we're getting an export of the report that we see here. So Laserfiche can be used as a reporting tool, if you think of it that way, with additional columns, but a really great tool as well. This concludes our training video on Laserfiche Windows Client by CDI Digital. Thank you for watching, and have a great paperless day.